Empathy means putting yourself in the other person's shoes. So, this person that I'm working with, what do I know about him? What's his background or her background? Where's the person coming from? So, will that affect my expectations?
Okay.
So, but where am I also coming from? So the fact that I'm here, the fact that I'm this side of the table is not a right, it's an opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Babatunde, for coming to an Hour with Your Manager podcast. I know this is actually our first encounter together, and I know we've been talking for the past I think 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. I'm Obrimah by name, and an Hour with Your Manager podcast has come to stay. We've been in existence for the past 1 year and 6 months. And what we've been doing before, we've been doing everything virtually. Everything we've been doing virtually, we've connected to over 30 plus experts around the world from different industries in insurance, finance, even in business. Because the whole idea is all about bringing in management, bringing in digital education into a simplified way to people. Because I started out in my background without a mentor, without a coach. But along the line, and now with a manager came in. And since then, I would say my life has actually changed. Yes, and it has changed for the best, even though I'm not where I'm looking out to be yet. But every day we keep growing, every day we keep making it better. And I'm very happy that when I reached out to you at random, I was happy when you connected and you were like, oh, okay, let's have a conversation, let's talk, and let's continue to share information together. So thank you very much for accepting to be on this podcast with me.
Pleasure.
Okay, There's something I like to do with my guests so that our audience who are going to be listening to this and who are listening to this and following up on this conversation can as well connect with us. And that is first, apart from what you write on LinkedIn, apart from what probably anybody might want to say, what is that personal thing that will be able to connect you with everyone who is going to be listening to this and watching this, and even the media people here who are watching this, to be able to walk them through this very conversation, to get them through in finance, personal experience, in your own space as managing different brands and different organizations, and your own personal career that will make more impact for anyone listening to this very podcast and this very conversation to take home back?
Build people.
Okay, I didn't get that.
Build people.
Why do you say that?
So, for me, I have an acronym I use for. In management or leadership, it's called TEAM.
Okay.
TEAM, and the first one is train. So, build people. You cannot get. So, I see a lot of interesting things. People want 5-star people, 5-star results, but have 1-star people.
Wow.
So for you to have a 5-star result, you must build people to become 5-star people. In 1999, I was still in the banking sector, and I'd been sent on this training on 7 habits of highly effective people by Stephen Covey. And that for me was a turning point, that once you can get people to have a paradigm shift mentality, they perform as effective people. So everywhere I've worked since then, all my staff, I buy them the books, tell them to read.
Please, what's this book again?
7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And then we start to take each habit and discuss it.
Wow.
And by the time I'm through with that, I've completely changed the mindset of the people that work with me. So the first thing for me is build people. And if there's any legacy I'm going to leave anywhere I've worked, is that I build people. And for me, that's really important. Once you build people, and that's the challenge we have even in the country, people running different organizations, especially in public sector in particular. Do we build people? How much time? Let me give you an interesting example. So I also do training, and I have a few friends who train on etiquette.
Wow. And
we're training a bank on etiquette, and they had used a hotel. Not a 5-star hotel, or what's it called, was a boutique hotel. And as we're training them, we all are training on work etiquette and things, and then we started training on dining etiquette. And we had a lady, a part of the team who lived in the UK and understands how you set tables and everything, and how you eat, how you use the fork and everything. And the GM of that, he had been watching everything, and now came to me and said, "Oh, can you train our staff?" And I said, "Oh, why not? We can train your staff. I mean, just tell us the extent you want. We'll tell you what it will cost to do the training." He says, "I want to go and talk to our chairman." By the time we finished that evening, he came back and said the chairman didn't approve it. But he obviously saw a gap in what they were doing, and he felt that it could latch on it.
Work.
So that's what happens. People don't want to build people, but they want to get a 5-star result. That's why you go to our airports, it's stinking, because the people who clean it, I'm sure that maybe even where they live, they probably don't even have water closets. I'm sorry, but that could be what's possible.
I understand.
So to put it in top form is not something that they understand, but have they been trained to understand what that was the core? I mean, it doesn't take any, just take them. I mean, we don't want to spend money, but take them out, take them to even just Ghana next door. You understand?
Yeah.
And they can see quality. Oh, this is how it works. Or take them to a hotel, and let them, oh, wow, so this how was the core. So we don't want to build people. So building people is fundamental for you to run successful institutions.
Talking about building people, it resonates a whole lot, but I'm going to hold up on one part. But let's focus our point a little bit on building people. It's actually not easy to build people, and it takes a very calm and a willful mind to want to build people. That is in the sense that you would leave a legacy of whether you're there or you're not there, that thing is actually moving. What would you give as an advice in terms of that whole process in management, in growing organizations? How did they even start? How did they even start that whole process? You've talked about this. You've talked about the book, but how off the book, off theory, how did they put these things to practical terms to actually build people, even if it's 2-man organization, 3-man, 5-man, 10-man? How did they get that done?
So I said team. The first is train. The second one is E, empathy.
Okay.
You see, empathy means putting yourself in the other person's shoes. So this person that I'm working with, what do I know about him? What's his background or her background? Where's the person coming from? So will that affect my expectations?
Okay.
So, but where am I also coming from? So the fact that I'm here, the fact that I'm this side of the table is not a right, it's an opportunity. Right.
True.
So that opportunity, how do I see where I'm coming from and being able to use it to build somebody else up? So empathy comes to play. So leaders must have empathy. And so look, Nigeria, we've never had an empathic leader in Nigeria, and that's why the situation is like this. The leaders are shielded.
That's very sad.
They're away from the people. And it happens even in organizations. You're away from the people. You're not connected with the people. So you're surrounded with those around you, probably maybe sycophants.
Just come and do the work.
What you want to hear. But really, you're not connecting with the people. So empathy is about being able to, don't forget where you're coming from. Being able to connect with the people. I used to be here, so how do I bring this person up to where I am? So that's really important. So when you have empathy, it now helps you to set things in perspective, and how you deal with people, how you manage people. Okay. That doesn't mean that you'll not be firm. You'll be friendly and you'll be firm.
Okay.
So you'll be able to, help to build. So empathy is extremely important. If you read a lot of documentations about the COVID period, organizations that succeeded were organizations who had leaders who had empathy.
Wow. So, talking about empathy, you mentioned team, TAAM. What does the A and M? You've mentioned T, you mentioned the T, and you mentioned E. What does the A and M stand for?
So the A is accountability.
Okay.
As a leader, you must be accountable. And accountability is not responsibility.
Don't you think that's supposed to be A? Let's rearrange the word ATEM. Because we lack accountability in so many organizations and so many institutions.
Yes. So accountability is not responsibility. They're different things. So let me try and explain accountability to you the way I describe it when I do training. So which I'd read in West School, which was very profound. So there's this little boy who was an altar boy in a Catholic church.
Okay.
And he's supposed to light the candle, but wasn't tall enough. So he goes there and is trying to tip to see if he can light the candle. And somebody in the congregation just walks up to him and lifts him up to light the candle. Now, it's not that guy's responsibility, but that's accountability. So it doesn't have to be your responsibility for you to be accountable. Well, accountability is also showing example and doing the right things. So if as a leader you're doing the right things, you're supporting your people, making sure that they do the right things, you're helping them to succeed, that's accountability. That helps to keep bond you with your people. You start building teams, not what's it called, not splinter groups within an institution. So that's extremely important. And the aim is motivate.
Okay.
You must motivate people. You must reward them. You must compliment them. Some people, it's not just money they want. They just want to be recognized, to be appreciated for what they have done. So you must know what motivates your people, and be able to use that to drive, performance in an organization.
Wow. Please walk us through TAAM in the simplest form, for anybody who is listening to this, able to understand and flow, because you've made very important points. You've talked about very important things in those points, please.
So train, empathize, be accountable, and motivate.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about you. Going through your background, seeing a lot of stuff you've done. I know you didn't just wake up one day and then be going to Fintech. I know you've had lots of background, lots of activities before you became where you are today. So how did you start in your journey? How was the journey from when you started to where you are today?
Okay, so, interesting enough, my first 2 degrees in agriculture, I trained as a geneticist or a breeder. And for my master's research, I worked on in vitro culture of sorghum, which is an aspect of, either you like it, genetic engineering. And at a point in time, I was looking at, okay, maybe I would like to become a professor of genetic engineering of crops. But the research I did was on in vitro culture of sorghum. Now, and that was the first time we were going to do any kind of research like that in Africa. Before, it used to be Japan and America that worked on in vitro culture in sorghum. And
in Nigeria?
Yeah, in Nigeria. And we had a breakthrough. We used 2 African varieties. So we wanted to see, will African varieties even respond to in vitro culture? And one of the varieties responded. It did well in the lab. It didn't do well in the field. But those were pilot schemes, so you could take it further.
That's a step.
But then my head started running wild. So sorghum and soybeans have a problem in Nigeria. Their yield is reduced by a weed called striga.
Okay.
Striga is an interesting weed. Its seeds are dormant. So striga seeds can be in the soil for 50 years and they won't germinate, except a chemical called strigol is present in that soil. It will stimulate the germination of striga seeds, and what it just strangles all the crops.
So that's like what do you call it? Creating an artificial soil, mixing up things to it also.
No. So let me explain to you. Sorghum and soybeans, their roots produce that chemical called strigol and releases into the soil. So if you plant them in a soil that already has striga seeds on that soil, it triggers off the germination and wipes out your whole plantation. So I started thinking, how can we use genetic engineering to solve this problem? How can we be able to either create varieties of sorghum that will not produce, and soybeans that won't produce strigol, or produce a strain of strigol that the current striga seeds won't respond to? So so it was just a crazy but it's doable. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the research to go do that. But I already knew that for us to improve yield and crop production in Africa, we need to improve our varieties, and it's technology that's going to do it. It's not the traditional breeding. If we're going to speed up things, we have some trees, like what you call the African mango.
Okay.
It takes 15 years for it to fruit.
Yeah.
With technology, you can reduce it. I know that forest researchers have done some research now. They've reduced to like 7 years.
And even coconuts too.
Yeah, it can go further. So technology can do all of these things. So you might talk about GMs and what's it called? Most of the people talk GM with due respect. They don't understand what they're talking about. So if I explain to you, so in traditional breeding, what you do is that. So I see a cob of maize. So for my first year, I was breeding colors of maize. So maize has different colors. That's all the colors of the rainbow. It has black. It has anything you can think of in different shades for that matter. So I was breeding different colors. So what basically happened is that, so for maize, let's use maize for example. You plant maize, and then you now see one extraordinary big cob. You remove it, and the seeds are actually big too.
Yeah.
So what they do is that they plant it and see the next generation will be also big. They'll do it second, third, fourth, maybe fifth, maybe to the 7th generation before they now agree that this is a dominant variety and start to multiply and release it. It has taken 7 years. What genetic engineering does for you is that I can isolate the gene that's responsible for that big size and then grow it and replicate it faster.
Would it have adverse effects?
It has no adverse effect. It's corn. It doesn't come out as millet. It doesn't come out as orange. It comes out as corn with the same with the same properties. Yeah. And what people do is that so you find that, and what has happened is a mutation that is exceptional.
Okay.
You know, it's happened naturally, but you'll be able to now replicate it. Let me give you another one. So you take an orange, and you discover that the orange has no seeds. All the other oranges on the same tree have seeds. One has no seeds. There's been a mutation there. So what gene was responsible for it? Why do we isolate it? So if you drink orange, do you need the seeds? You don't need the seeds. So somebody wants to breed seedless oranges, and people start to make noise. I mean, when you eat guava, do you need the seed? Do you eat the seeds? No. So that's what has happened is that science is improving things. That's why when there was COVID, we could get a vaccine very fast because you could use genetic engineering to do those things. So I knew that technology was the way to go. Although I ended up in banking, and then, of course, the banking, I worked a bit for subsidiary of the central bank, and then into Fintech. And because for us at Nigerian Fintech Association, it's not about payments.
Okay.
Payments is a fantastic foundation, but nobody pays for payment. You pay for food, for shelter, for transport, for health, for education. You pay for every other thing but payment. But you need to pay for those things to happen. Yeah. So for me, it was just because an inclusive association, the mantra is to drive digital inclusion, and digital inclusion cut across board. How do we get people to spend more time on agriculture, agri-tech, health tech, insurtech, grow those verticals, so that we can feed ourselves. You see, when you look at the fact that 50% post-harvest losses is what we have in Nigeria, if you can take out those losses or reduce it to 10%, we should be able to feed ourselves on some. What's it called? I mean, look, here in Nigeria, eggs get bad because farmers can sell eggs and they bury them. It doesn't have to be like that. I mean, so what do they use to make mayonnaise? Eggs. So why can't they convert it to egg powder?
Before it gets bad.
So before it gets bad. Tomatoes get spoiled because even between Kano and Lagos, there are 200 checkpoints. So if the farmer has harvested tomato and is bringing them to Lagos and they keep stopping there, the vehicle breaks down or anything.
On the road alone.
So by the time it gets to Lagos, that's why you find all those mushy ones and all those, because of all those things and the time it has taken to get here. But technology, if you harvest and you can step down the temperature by putting them in cooling vans and using crates, they have a longer shelf life. So technology is the solution to our problem across board. I mean, look, you stand in traffic and a bus breaks down. This down for buses, and there's war because there's no change to share. So they pair people together. It doesn't have to be like that. Why can't I use fingers?
Just one click.
You don't need a click. Just finger biometrics. Register on a biometric wallet, and you get there. You just put your finger, and it takes your payment. So technology is what's going to solve a problem. Or although we need financial literacy to to talk to people and what have you. So that's been my interest and journey to take me out of so many other things that I do. But I mean, it's
it's amazing to hear you talk about agric and then you're doing finance, because I have a background from agric, animal science. I studied animal science. And I'm going to ask this question, but let me just share something real quick. So when I journeyed to tech, before school was done, when I journeyed through tech, when I hear friends, most of my friends are like, what are you studying? Computer science, this one, computer engineering, computer this, computer that. Everybody's doing technical courses. And I'm like the only person, very strange, doing agric, and in agric, animal science, not even agric engineering. And I'm like, well, I just had to tell myself, whether you have to be a computer science person or not, if you want to do business of tech, go into it, regardless of anything. So the question is, how did you feel seeing yourself in that position, coming out from agric, then transitioning into finance and then technology along the way? Was it strange for the people around you, or was it a very good transition for yourself personally?
I think it's a good transition for myself personally. So, I mean, I remember once they had asked me, I think I was in an interview, and they had asked me, how will you describe yourself? I said, I'm like the cassava stem. Either it's upside down, either it's lying down, either it is slanting. Wherever you put it, it germinates. So for me, anywhere I find myself, and it comes down to my first T, train, capacity building, build yourself too. It's not just about building others, you must build yourself too. You must be able to function, in anything you want. So you should be able to transist into anything. It's just capacity building that you need. You just need to build yourself.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Nigerian fintech or fintech itself. I think in 2022, a friend invited me here in Lagos at Echo Hotel. Invited me for what do you call it? Nigerian fintech event that very day. And what happened was, I was just there because I wanted to connect. I wanted to network with people. I didn't really know why I was there though, because I'm in project management and I'm trying to balance myself with, seeing everybody here. Everybody here is just having the finance terms. Everybody's having finance information. Everybody's having everything they're talking about here is payment, cash, payment. So for the benefit of those that, like myself, who will be looking forward to next Nigerian Fintech Week probably in the next couple of months this year, I'm sure there will still be another session for that. So what should people like myself and every other person who was listening to this look out for coming into Nigerian Fintech under your government, because you're also part of those who are handling this whole initiative? So what do you think people like myself should come to learn and probably go beyond just finance or payments and stuff?
So, I mean, our theme for this year is accelerating inclusive growth.
Okay.
So inclusive means that everything. So agric, health, transport, education, properties. So PropTech. So how do you now, what's it called? So if you come in for Nigerian Fintech Week, which is October 8th to October 10, what you'll be seeing will begin to be focused a lot on the verticals.
Okay.
How can you make money? So we have PropTechs today who are looking at tokenization. So they tokenize, buy, floats, tokenization for people to contribute, and they can buy properties and rent it out, and you get dividend out there. So you can be a part owner of a commercial building instead of waiting forever to raise money to buy one. So a lot of interesting things happening within the verticals.
But sorry, can you explain tokenization for the benefit of everybody who will be listening to this?
Okay, so the easiest way to look at it is like buying shares in the stock market on a company. But this time around, it's on a blockchain. So it's called tokenization because you are buying a piece of something that is large. What's happening really in cryptocurrencies is that very few people have one cryptocurrency. You just have a token or a fraction of a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, sure.
So it's the same principle. So it's like having a fraction of a property, but it's timed tokenization.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please.
Yes, so well, that's what you're going to for the Nigerian FinTech Week. We're going to focus a lot on. Let's look, if we're going to grow this economy, it's production. It's not taxes. It's not tariffs. It's production.
But that's the opposite.
Yeah, that. So without production, we can't. What's it called? I mean, for me, if I'm in charge of power today, or president today, production is key. So I'm going to tell private people, embedded power, give them licenses, put one Ikeja industrial area, power, Agbara industrial estate, power, Newi industrial area, power, Kano, tanning factories and what have you, the textile mills, power, Kaduna, power. Where you have industries, we need to produce, and they need to produce at a cheaper, competitive rate. So we're doing African Free Trade Zone, but we can't compete because our cost of production is too high. So if you have embedded power, private companies supplying power to those people that are dedicated to them, their cost of production will drop because they spend. Look, if you go to Agbara and all those industries, they have diesel 6 generators running, because
24/7.
they have to move from one to the other because they have to make sure that 24/7 there's power. They can't afford power cuts in the production line, so they're permanently on generators. That is not competitive at all. So we need to look at when God, the creator of heaven and earth, the first thing he created was light.
Yes.
So light is fundamental. And I think our leaders need to understand that light is fundamental. Anything we want to do, light is priority. Even we're talking about agri-tech, light is critical for it. If you go to the Netherlands, they have you see greenhouses running in kilometers, and they're all solar powered. There's light 24/7. So light should be priority. Once we can solve light, you have solved a whole lot of problems, for people. So we need to, so that's what we need to. So production is critical. So we must encourage people to look at production. Well, how can you produce cheaply? What can you do? Like I was talking about eggs now.
Yeah.
Why can't somebody go to where poultry is so predominant? Because what happens with poultry business, a lot of people go into business, even in agriculture, is that they go with a speculative mind that will grow and sell.
Yeah.
Right? But you must define your market
without
first.
looking at other things.
You should define your market first. But even when that is not a challenge, so why can't I go and set up a small thing that will help convert eggs into egg powder and sell to the Nestle's and all those who make mayonnaise? So you're solving a problem within that value chain.
Yeah.
So the only idea is that people need to understand each of these value chains. Where can I solve a problem there? It can be a digital problem. It can be a technological problem. We need to look at production across the real sectors, and how that keys into payments and services.
Wow. I'm looking forward to that. October 8th to 10th, right? I'm looking forward to that, and I'm definitely going to be there.
That's at the landmark.
Okay, yes, always at landmark. Mentioning power, I remember when we started out at An Hour with Your Manager, it was actually virtually, and one of the challenges, because I didn't just wake up one morning and decide to become a podcaster. I didn't even know I was going to become a podcaster. Okay, it was just along the journey. We defined it, keep defining it every day, and then this is where we found ourselves. But one of the challenges I experienced then was always power. Because I probably be recording, and the next thing, lights will just go off. And I have to probably try to get it up either 5 to 10 minutes. That recording has gone down. Time you've already spent 5 to 10 minutes, and power lights will have to come down. So it's what you're saying right now is very, very important. But don't you also think that private sector should also look at how to, we have, there was research then at my year 1 in school I did that had to do with waste. Okay, there's this thing they called what do you call it again? That we do in year 1. Everybody writes, is it GST? Yes, GST. Everybody, you always have to pass through that. So we went through a research. My own research was about waste. So in waste management, I realized that some countries actually use recycle waste for electricity. So don't you think that can also be an avenue to, instead of just throwing out things, rubbers, plastics, see how to make that work for us here?
Oh, definitely. You see, I mean, there are a lot of, and that's the whole idea. What are the opportunities that exist? I
Okay.
mean, how can people take advantage of those opportunities? I mean, fine, they might not be cheap, but I mean, people can come together and form companies. What's it called? And look at this. We can solve this problem. I mean, there's a lady, I think is in Ibadan, that buys tires, used tires, and converts them into bricks for building houses.
That's amazing.
You know, all these bricks for paving stones and things like that. So I mean, there are a lot of things that you can use that people can do, but there must be people need to know about them. What are the opportunities? What are the funding opportunities that are available
to
do such things? You know, to do such things. So I think that's what the platform is going to create. Going to open up people's mind into the opportunities that are in these verticals. You know, looking at the entire value chain from production to market and even to waste. You know, and how you can take advantage of all of that. You know?
Wow. Okay. We've shared a couple of stuff as regards to finance. We've talked about Nigerian fintech. We've talked about leadership, and you've mentioned something as regards to team and also your background. Let's look at management organizations itself from your own years of experience, and also being a chief operational office personnel in fintech. What would you say is that number one factor or number one problem that really affects organizations in terms of management, in terms of management, their employees, and probably the leaders themselves? What do you think is that number one problem that is always prevalent in organizations?
So I would say that I think the first problem is trust.
Why do you say problem?
Why do you say that? So you have situations where people don't, they are suspicious of one another. There's no cohesion.
Yeah.
You know, once there's no cohesion, you start having problems, and then and once a leader allows camps to build, people somebody said this, that person said that, that person did, what's it called? You're a leader, you should not listen to all those things. And people said it's absolutely irrelevant. What do you want to achieve? You know, if people are saying that they're not part of the people who are able to achieve, you get rid of them and bring people who will make you to achieve your goals.
True.
So that's why I said that. I mean, you must once you have empathy as a leader, the first thing I do is try to understand my people. What's the background? I mean, family and things like that. You know where people are, and then your first, as a leader, if you're new in a place, your first 2 weeks will tell you the people you should.
But some people don't actually take note of that.
You should take serious. People start coming to you. Welcome. I want to tell you about this. I want to tell you about this. I mean, they're just wasting your time. You know. So So that's why I'm saying that trust. Because while they're saying that there's no trust, there's no team bonding. There's no what's it called. So there's lack of cohesion. So that's the first problem that I think creates problems in organizations. Also there is that intra-departmental rivalry
in big corporations.
In banking it used to be the guys in credit versus the guys in operations. You know? so you have those challenges. But I mean, as a leader, you must let the operations. As a branch manager, I'll tell the operations manager, look, the prosperity. Your prosperity and our prosperity is here in this branch. So we must work together. You're an operations person, you must do your job. But you must be able to tell me where there are challenges, the best way to deal with some situations. Don't say it's us against them. I mean, it shouldn't be like that. So as a leader, you must always make sure that team bonding is important, that everybody under you is a team, that you're running an organization as a team, and almost like a family. We spend more times at work than at our homes.
True.
So it should be a place where we should be at peace, not at war.
Wow. So how would you say is the best way to promote team bonding in the banking sector? Because I know that bankers work a lot.
So everything is about leadership. Why is Nigeria divided? It's leadership. If there's a political will for us to be united, a decisive leader would do it. what we don't have is the political will to do it because everybody serves their self-interest. So same thing in organization. Are you there to grow the organization or to serve particular interest?
Yeah.
So as a leader, I must be decisive, and be able to say, look, these are my objectives for being here. These are my goals. You align or you align out. So you're either in or out. But in doing that, the E comes in, the empathy that you need to let people know. So change is one thing that's very difficult for people. They're used to doing things in certain ways.
Yeah.
So when you bring something new, they're resistant. Let me give you one. So when I came into Fintech Association, it was in September 2019. The office was in Ikoyi, and I looked at the books, I looked at operations, and I said, you know what? I think we can work 100% remotely. So when the rent expires, when tenure expires in December, we're not going to get no more office. And people protested. No, I can't work outside of an office. No, it's not possible.
I think that also happened after COVID too.
No, this is before COVID. This is September 2019.
Wow.
So I said, okay, you know what? A deal. We'll try for 6 months. After 6 months, if you guys are not comfortable, we'll come back and get an office. So they said yes. So January 2020, we started working remotely. March, COVID came and locked down, and nobody wants to go back to the office. So change is something that's difficult for people to adopt. Even be amazed. So it's a thing you say in agriculture. When yellow maize was introduced to Nigeria, the farmers protested.
Of course.
We're not going to do it. Pap is white, not yellow. But when they saw that guys who are producing were selling to guys who are doing poultry and things like that, and what's it called? Everybody said, started changing. So at times you need to show by example. You need to let people know this is better than what you're doing before. And that's where empathy comes into it. But there's a limit. That's why I say you must be friendly, or you must also be firm. There's a limit to which friendliness goes and firmness starts to set in.
That word, friendly, and that limit. Let me take for instance. I've been able to, by the grace of God, I've been able to manage a couple of teams, top couple of brands, and one thing that's always happened, you always notice, is that the Gen Zs, no offense to any of them, but the Gen Zs most especially, kind of lack a manner of approach, the way they communicate. That's how I was raised. I was raised in a way whereby if I see an elderly person, I know how I talk to the person, I know how I communicate with the person, but they just throw anything to you. So if you have to manage these guys, how do you cope in your own organization? How do you bring all of them together?
Yes, so
not to cause chaos.
So it's important to, that's what I said, that you must know people. So you know that there's a group called Gen Z. You already know their traits and their behavioral traits.
Yeah.
So you plan for it. So let me tell you what's the cause. So when I'm interviewing people, Gen Zs, the first question I ask you is, do you have a side hustle? If you tell me you don't have a side hustle, the interview is over.
Why?
Because you're likely lying. There's hardly any Gen Z that doesn't have a side hustle.
That's true.
And if you tell me you have a side hustle, it tells me straight away that you have an entrepreneurial mindset. So that's good for me because I want people who are innovative. So the next question is, what's your side hustle? How do you see it aligning with what we're doing here? How do you see it not affecting your
work process?
KPIs here? But guess what? Once you say that, I'm ready to support you. I will even introduce you to people to give you jobs. What's it called? So that's my one, because so you need to understand the traits, the character traits of a demographic that you are bringing in. Once you understand that, you won't have problems working with them, because they can see that. So the typical Gen Z is concerned about, what's my career plan here? What's the growth plan? Do you have a plan? You don't have a plan. Are you going to impede on my time for my things I need to do? Once you're going to impede on that, you can't get their loyalty. They probably spend 6 months and go.
But you know, on that, they like you to give them more, but they give you less.
That's really not. You see, once they see that you are also interested in their in their growth and what concerns them, they give you their best. I have Gen Zs working for me. I sleep a bit early, but there are times that you have to work late.
True.
And I'm also awake, and I'm sending them messages, and they're responding, and they're working. And I'll get back to you. I'll do this. What's the call? They. So it's really how you work with them. They want that bit of freedom. And once they see that freedom is impeded, you can't get the best out of them. You must plan around the way they think. Also, friendly and also firm. You must define the boundaries. You must both agree. So we agree the boundaries. This is what's the call? What we want to do. So these are the boundaries. Once you both agree and they agree to it, you guess what happens is that you want to say, unless you do this, what's the call? No, agree the boundaries, but it must be a win-win situation. So in the 7 habits, I think the fourth one is have a win-win mentality. So if you have a win-win habit, you're always looking at the third alternative. It's not my way or your way. It's what's the best way that works to make it work for both of us. Yeah.
Wow. Well, in managing people, it has to do, like you've mentioned, it has to do with you taking yourself out of yourself to be like the next person and think about the next person and even imagine like the next person. And I know being in the banking sector and even being in Fintech has been a very amazing journey for you. And thank you very much for also being here to share that information and that experience with us, because having to look at the banking sector in Nigeria and look at what is really going on and the future of technology, well, I don't know if I mean to say the bank is going down or people are actually misleading themselves from the narrative of, oh, okay, no, will there be banks? Oh, no, banks. Every day we're hearing different saga. Oh, this bank is saying no, CBN is saying this to these people, or the fintech guys are not giving regulations. Like, which day was I received a message from MoneyPoint saying anything you have to do with crypto-related transactions, your account will be closed. I don't know the reasons for that, but the future is very close to us, or the future is already now. What do you think is going to happen to us back here in Nigeria, in Africa, that is not really following up on this track? Because sometimes you might look at some sectors and some sectors are like 10 years behind or 20 years behind. What do you think is going to happen to us back home here, back in Nigeria, as regards to finance and crypto and all of those things going on?
So let me start. So the future of payment is going to be an interoperability of 4 things.
Okay.
Fiat, central bank digital currencies, stable coins, and cryptocurrencies. It's going to be the interplay of the 4. I mean, that's the future of what's it called. So banks are not going anywhere. Banks are going to be here. Banks might reduce their brick and mortar, but they're going to be here.
Yeah.
If I ask you, do you have an account in a bank?
Of course.
Yes. You have an account with Fintech? Yes.
Of course.
So what you see? So in Nigeria is a bank-led financial system.
Okay.
So Fintechs can go to clearing. That means that they cannot they need banks to survive, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be that collaboration. So the two will work together. So that's the way our own financial system is. And that's how it is all across Africa. I think Kenya used to be telco-led, but that has changed.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the interplay. And when you look at it globally, that's going to really be the interplay. Banks are not going anywhere. Banks will continue to also improve on their technology and become more nimble. There are banks in Nigeria that have closed down about 50% of their branches, and running and they still have customers where they close branches. So
and some are doing measures.
So it's technology. So I mean, everybody is going to become a technology company,
one way or the
other. Just running a business. So, but then they're not going anywhere. Everybody's going to work together. There's going to be collaboration.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that clarity, because I'm almost thinking maybe tomorrow either Union Bank or First Bank will be closing up or something, or probably they might turn their token to a First Bank token or Union Bank token or UBA Bank token. But thank you for having you here to share that information with us. But before we wrap up this very conversation, please, what is that one thing you will be able to say to people who are listening to this to take back as regards to finance, as regards to the future of finance, both in Nigeria and in Africa? And because running through the podcast over the past 1 year and 6 months, I've had friends, professional friends, expert friends from different parts of the country who are also looking to come into Nigeria, because Nigeria is like becoming the next big thing, the next big country, or the next big Africa is becoming the next big continent where everybody wants to come in and tap into the rich resources. So, what do you think is going to be your own advice to everyone who's listening to this regards to finance and in terms of management, and how we can move through that in coordination to bring success to banking or finance itself, and to put ourselves out there as a global country? Yes, okay. Because Nigeria is going to be great.
Oh, definitely. So for investors, I would say this is the place to invest. I mean, Nigeria, Africa, we've got 1.2 billion people now. Nigeria has 200 million people. It says by 2050, Nigeria will be the fourth largest, first most populous country in the world. So you can't go wrong if you come here. In terms of finance, I mean, look, technology is going to define a whole lot of things, you know. I mean, why can't I do transfer by just doing a voice call?
Yeah.
My account is voice activated and I just speak to it.
Like
and
Google Voice?
Yeah, so I say, oh, okay, can you transfer 50,000 from my account to this account in GT Bank, you know? So technology is going to drive a whole lot of things. It's going to get crazier. A lot of crazy things are going to come. What's it called? But like I said, the interplay is going to be those four things.
Okay.
Fiat, which is the issued currency, the central bank digital currencies, stable coins, and because the first two are transactional instruments. The second, which is the stable coin, the third and fourth, stable coins and cryptocurrencies are transformational instruments. That is, they're instruments that you can use to make money, and you can also lose money. So a lot of young people, which when you talk about Gen Zs, they want
the quick
transformational instruments, not transactional. Okay, so you do transactions, but then I still want to make money, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I see with my own children, you know, that they said, so, but you have money. No, Daddy, I'm saving my money. You spend the money. So you have that. So finance is critical, but everybody must manage their resources. You know, there is the book called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah,
it teaches you financial management. Pay yourself
first.
Like my mother would say, save for the rainy day. You know, pay yourself first. No, I would say pay God first. Pay yourself. You know, and then manage the rest, so that you can still get even extra from the rest to add to what you have paid yourself for. So, I mean, people must manage their resources. I mean, we can look at Nigeria today. I mean, I think I used to spend like 120,000 for power. Now it's going to about $500,000 a month with the new band A rate, tariff, and I'm still looking for the lights, and they keep charging me. So you see, so costs are going up, but then in the midst of all of that, you still must survive.
Yeah.
But finance is critical. You need money to. Even the Bible says that money answers to all things, but you should not love money. And that's the problem we have in Nigeria. People love money, so they steal money.
I think that's everywhere, maybe.
Well, I mean, not everywhere. The problem we have in Nigeria, we don't have strong institutions. That's why people steal. So, I mean, you have somebody who's been jailed down for 120 years, a banker, because he was involved in a fraud of 120 million. But we have people who have stolen 100 billion, and they're walking, and they're still walking around the streets. No, so it's because we don't have strong. If we have strong institutions, and that's what they did in Singapore, they had strong institutions, and that's why it's a great country today. We need to decide if we want a great country or we want to be the
giant of Africa,
or the poverty headquarters of the world. You know, so we need to have, because people will steal the country dry if we don't have strong institutions. So I mean, it's just finance is critical. Everybody must manage their finances, but that is a space where we can do a whole lot of stuff. I mean, when they talked about AFC, the first time I was invited to the presidential committee, I said, why are you wasting time on trade and manufacturing? We don't have competitive advantage. The fintechs is what we should push. Services, that's where we have our strength in. That's what we should push. So I think that those are areas that people should look at. The opportunities there. But like I tell fintechs today, don't try, if you're not bringing something new that Flutterwave has not done, that Paystack has not done, that InterSwitch has not done, Stop struggling.
Everybody's recycling.
Stop struggling. That's why I said the verticals are a huge opportunity. We can feed ourselves. Insurance is only 3% penetration out of 200 million. That's a huge space. So you should look at data. You need data to see, whoa, there's huge opportunities here. Take the value chains. Where are the gaps? How do I plug into those gaps and make money? If you can solve a problem within the food value chain today, that means that you're solving a problem of 200 million people. You make money.
Wow. I'm going to take that and I'll solidify this very podcast, like you said. We don't want to go and we don't want to drag the space with everybody doing a lifestyle podcast or probably talking about politics or probably talking about any other thing. But we understand that management is not very much talked about. People don't really see what is going on in the management space. We don't really hear employees' voice. We only hear employees when they rage, when they're not satisfied, and probably everybody will be on the street with placard. But now with the Managers Podcast, we want to be that voice where managers can be heard, where leaders can also come speak and talk about what is going on, and other leaders can as well listen to it, tap into it, like all you've shared, the whole team aspect in terms of training, empathy, accountability, and motivation. That is very, very vital. I personally am going to involve that into my own management process and optimize it. But it's very good to have you here and to see you in person and have these very wonderful conversations with you today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your time.
Thanks.
Yeah.